welcome to MandoBug Crafts, episode 56. Hey, what's up? I'm MandoBug, but you can call me Amanda if you want. You can find me pretty much everywhere on the web as MandoBug, like Ravelry and Instagram. And I'd like to say welcome, new viewers, and thanks for coming back, returning viewers. How are you guys doing? So let's start the show with something I've learned. And actually, this week is something I didn't learn. So I'm sure this has happened to you guys where you search out to learn something and you just don't quite learn it. I mean, at least not right away. I actually abandoned the idea of learning it because it's not necessary and I'll learn it in the future. And what I'm talking about is the long tail tubular cast on. Oh my goodness, have you guys tried to do that yet? It's like impossible, okay? It's really not. It just is really tricky, and I am a very visual person and I prefer videos over written instructions. So I searched out looking for videos on how to do this, specifically for a 2x2 cast on. And the videos were so fast. It was like, oh, you just do this. Again, it's like this. I was like, what? So there was one tutorial that I found, and I'll link to it on my show notes at mandobugcrafts.blogspot.com, or there's a link in the description of this YouTube video. She was slower, and she repeated herself, but it was still really difficult for me. And all three videos that I found, I was looking for a 2x2 cast on, they all show you how to 1x1 cast on. So if I'm understanding this correctly, you can't 2x2 cast on a long tail tubular cast on. You have to actually rearrange your stitches, or at least that's what one of the videos said, is that you do your cast on and then you rearrange your stitches to be 2x2 ribbing. And I was like, this is too much work. The whole purpose of doing it is it gives you a nice stretchy cast on. But there are also other stretchy cast ons out there that I already know how to do. So I decided not to continue trying to learn how to do that. I let it go. And maybe in the future I'll go for it. But for now, it didn't happen, guys. So moving on to works in progress. So I have finished one of my Lou Cookie mystery socks from the mystery knit along. Okay, here it is. So I don't know what's going on with this heel. You know, I told you guys I had to redo it, and like, it's deep. Like, look at that. That's like, if I hold it flat, it doesn't look so bad, but when it hangs down, like, look how deep that heel is. When I put the socks on, they're too long, and I think it's because the heel is so deep. So normally with toe-up socks, you knit until a certain distance, at like whatever you expect your heel to be. I think I knit until 2 inches before the end of my heel. And then you do your heel, and that will give you some extra. Normally, it doesn't give you this much, though. So these socks don't fit me, and the heel is too wide. My husband tried them on, and it's fine. But when I try to wear them, I don't know if you can see, I have like this little puckering that happens on each side of my heel. So they don't fit, but they are gorgeous. And I mean, I love the yarn. It's Dizzy Blonde Superwash sock. It's Tequila Sunrise. I don't know if they're still dyeing because this yarn was gifted to me. But it's really nice. I think it's a 2-ply. It's kind of, I've split the yarn a couple times, but it's soft. It's really soft. And then I remember telling you guys also that I started the patterning on the back of the leg, like, pretty late. But you can see the traveling cables in the back. And I used a variegated yarn, so it's not as predominant, for lack of a better way of saying that. But it travels across the top of the leg and then the back as well. So these socks are going to be gifted to my mother-in-law because she doesn't have any hand knit socks, and I already asked her if they would fit, and I think so. I wear a 6 and a half to size 7, and this is about an inch too big, and she said she wears like, I think an 8 and a half. So they should fit her feet. Josh already tried to claim them, but I was like, you know what, that's not fair. You only really wear ankle socks, and you don't really like orange, so she doesn't have any socks, okay? Just let them go. So I cast on the second one, and I just have a wee little toe, and like already looking at the cast on, my gauge is a little bit tighter, and I'm just like, man, this is why I like to knit socks at the same time, because my gauge will stay the same. Do a couple rows on this one, do a couple rows on that one. But I couldn't with these socks because I only had one set of needles that were free. These are size 0. I think these are Haya circulars, not the sharps, just the regular, I think. But yeah. So I'm glad that I decided to gift these to her, because if they were just for me, since they don't fit, I would have no motivation to finish the second sock. But because they are a gift, I do have the motivation to keep working on them and finish them, so I can send them to her. So, and that pattern, I haven't checked. You know what, I'll check when I'm editing this, and I'll put it at the bottom whether it's free or for sale. Because I got it for free, but I think it was only free during the knit along, so it might not be free anymore. So, also, I've been working on my beekeepers tank. And it's so funny, in this pattern, it describes the tank top to you, and the beginning, it calls it marathon stockinette knitting, and that's seriously what you're doing. It's just nothing but stockinette for all the way up to your bust. So, I mean, this is, can't get any more plainer than this. So this tank top I'm knitting out of Shibui Knits linen in the Cascade colorway, which is this gorgeous blue. It's not that I dislike blue, I'm just a super huge fan of orange, really. But this color, it really, really spoke to me. I really like this color. And so here's where I was last week. I put a little kitty marker on there. Little kitty meow. So I've knit just a couple inches, and this I've primarily been knitting at work. So I can't knit at work, but because I still have a little baby and I've been doing my best to continue breastfeeding her, we have an awesome room at work called the Nursing Mother's Room where women can go and pump. And they have a workplace pump where you bring your own attachments and you can use it. So that's what I've been doing, and it's really funny because at home I have a manual pump and it's quite different than the electric pump. The electric pump, it makes me feel like a cow. It does. I just think of like cows getting hooked up to electric pumps every time I do it. But the awesome thing about it is that I'm hands-free. So I just knit about a row. I think I only get a row each time I go in there. So if not less than a row. So I think someone wants to come in. Hold on a second. That was Harvey. I know you guys haven't seen Harvey in a while. Oh, he's a big guy now. Oh my goodness. Big guy, check this out. Harvey, when did you get so big? Oh, you're a big guy. You just want some loves from Mom. Of course, the cats and the dogs both are a lot more needy now that we have Emily, because they're like, hey, you love us too, right? Yes, I love you, Meow Meow. You smell like cat litter. You must have just went in the cat room. Anyways, oh, you want to get on the table now? Okay. Okay. So anyways, this tank top, oh yeah, so I get like less than a row when I'm at work. And so I decided that I can't just knit on this at work because it'll take me like 2 years to finish. So I've been trying to work on it in the car, but sometimes, you know, Emily is not asleep in the car, So then I really have to keep her entertained because she doesn't really like the car seat. But it's good travel knitting, good mindless knitting, good VKN knitting, which hopefully I'll get to be a part of VKN in a couple weeks. I haven't tried to do one since I've had Emily, or be a part of one at least. So hopefully that goes well. Luckily, Josh is really like helpful with things like that. He, Harvey, he just wanted to give you guys some love. But yeah, Josh really is really great. He stays at home with her while I'm at work, and he's really good about giving me like break time from her, and I vice versa. So, all right. I'm also working on my hand spun socks. So I showed you guys last week the hand spun, 2 weeks ago, the hand spun that I finished, and I've cast on socks, and I am knitting these at the same time. So here's my progress so far. Now, I think I mentioned to you guys that I had more yardage on one than the other, so I have cut some yarn out of one of the socks. So I have, oh, and also, okay, so these are the Kalajoki. You know, I'm not going to know how to pronounce that. In the pattern it says that it's a river in Finland, I believe. So I have no idea how to say that. But I modified the pattern to do toe up because I wanted to be able to knit with all the yarn so I could get the full gradient. If I start at the top and knit to the toe, I might have not gotten to the purple, which I've just started. So because I modified it toe up, this like swirling back and forth pattern that is on it. In the original pattern, it goes all the way to the toe, but I couldn't figure that out in reverse, so I just did a regular toe and started the pattern when my toe increases were done. And so yeah, this yarn I'm using was hand spun from Penguin Soup. It was her British BFL base, and it's superwash. And the Frozen Heart, that's what I was like, what am I trying to say? The Frozen Heart colorway, and I chain plied it to about a sport weight. So I'm knitting these on size 2, US 1.5, 2.5 millimeters. So I'm getting a nice tight gauge, and so like I was saying, I cut some yarn out. Sorry, I'm kind of like frazzled. I think Harvey distracted me. I cut some yarn out, so I had to cut some turquoise out of one sock, and the same sock I had to cut some blue out to kind of get them to match up slightly. They're not going to be perfect, they're not striping perfect, but I wanted them to match a little bit. So I do have these scraps, which will be fun to work with later, but I've just started on the purples. So I'm excited to get these done, and I really like the way that I spun these and the way that they feel. I put high twist in them, which sometimes when you do that, it can make your yarn feel really rough and uncomfortable. And I got a high twist, but I think the singles were not over plied, which helped, because if you over apply your singles and then over spin your singles and then over apply it all together, it's the worst. But my singles were just spun enough to be held together, and then it was plied tightly. So I'm really enjoying the fabric I'm getting out of these hand spun socks, and I really enjoy the base of this fiber. So yay, hand spun socks! This is my first pair, and oh, I put the OMG heel on these, by the way, by Megan Williams of the Stockinette Zombies, because I only have one other pair of socks with this heel in them. They're the Mystic Spiral socks, and the heel is pretty shallow, and those are the best fitting heels that I have out of the few the few knit socks that I have. So I do want to try more heels in the future, but for now the OMG heels have fit me the best. So what else have I been working on? I picked up an older work in progress, Holly Dap. of the Swift Knits podcast designed a pattern called Follow the Yellow Brick Road, except for I've named mine Follow the Brick Road because it's more of a brick color. And this is a gorgeous shawl. It's a paper pattern. This way? Yes. I got it on some long cables so I can show you. I'm glad I got some bigger cables to be able to show you shawls. It's this really awesome brick looking pattern, and you knit until you have so many stitches on your needles, and then you start a lace border, and that's what I've started. So I'm 2 rows into the lace border. There's about 20 rows, I believe, of the lace border, and then bind off. So she is holding a Instagram knit along with this pattern called it's Follow the Yellow Brick Road knit along, but just the first letter of each. I'll put it at the bottom. And so I decided, you know what better time to pick this up and finish it than that. I get cast-on-itis when people I know, friends of mine, release patterns. I can't help it. I cast on all of them. And there was a moment where I cast on a whole bunch of shawls, and I have to come back to finishing them, and this is one of them. So figure one at a time, this one, and then I gotta go back and finish my Mija, which that shawl, I wasn't paying attention. It's got some short rows in it, and I messed up one of the rows, and so I had to rip back, and I haven't touched that since, but I'll pick it back up after I finish this. This I'm knitting on US size 6 out of Malabrigo sock in Tiziano red, and on the size 6 it's just a lovely squishy drapey fabric, kind of see-through, but I absolutely love it. I had never knit a shawl on such big needles like this until I knit Holly's Doncaster, and I just fell in love with using 6s and fingering weight. It's such a great gauge. So anyways, I'm also working on some spinning. I just started this and I haven't gotten very far, but I figured I would share it with you guys anyways. I spun those sport weight socks, which, okay, by the way, if you're a spinner, fingering weight socks or fingering weight yarn takes forever, but just spinning a little bit thicker to sport weight somehow is like magical. It was my favorite spin, but even then, it's even better to spin bulkier because it goes by faster. You get less yardage, therefore there's less spinning. And it's not that I don't enjoy spinning, it's that I really enjoy finishing the spinning and getting the yarn. I love to spin, but I really love to work with the hand spun. And I really hope you guys don't mind Harvey. He's just hanging out, wants to be with Mom. But, so this is fiber that I got for Christmas from my mother-in-law. It is from Edgewood Garden. Like, what is it? Edgewood Garden. And it's Shetland in the candy corn colorway. This is my first time spinning Shetland, and it's nice. And I'm glad that I'm spinning this at a 3-ply worsted weight because I feel like the Shetland really likes to be fluffy. It likes to be thicker. I was gonna 2-ply it on itself because I had a lot of fun doing that with the art yarn, but look at this fiber. I couldn't pass up the chance to keep this stripey, right? I couldn't, so I'm chain plying it. I prefer a traditional ply, I really do. I personally feel like it makes a better yarn, but chain plying allows you to keep that color, and yes, I need this stripy yarn in my life. So, I'm really enjoying spinning that, even though I've got just a little bit on my bobbin here. But then, finally, I just started working on this morning. So, I live like 2 hours outside of Atlanta, and every spring they have Ren Fair, Renaissance Festival. Oh my goodness! Last year was my first year going, but I had so much fun. And this year we plan to go again and of course take Emily, and I decided that I wanted to make her a special dress for the event. I also want to make some stuff for me, but it's easier to sew little things, so I figured I'd at least tackle that first. I have a skirt that I bought at the fair last year, and so I'm thinking for myself this year that I'm going to try to make a halter top and then an underbust corset so that I can undo the top to easily feed Emily, because I was working on that dress. I don't know if you guys remember that, but it would, like, I have to think about being able to feed her easily. So I can't imagine like trying to undo a dress to feed her. She needs easy access to keep her happy so we can enjoy ourselves at the festival. So I picked up this pattern. It's a simplicity pattern, which you guys may remember I always have issues with these, but I'm trying to be more patient with them, and I think that's helping. So this is 1701, in case you're interested, and I'm planning on making this C version here. And Josh went with me and helped me pick out the fiber, or the fabric, and so we ended up picking out this lime green. Of course, green's his favorite color, so I'm not surprised. But, so most of it's going to be in this green, and then there's this overlay section of the skirt that I picked this, and I don't know if you can tell, but it's got holes in it, so it's like a nice thin overlay material. Which, by the way, it's really hard to cut patterns like this straight. Mine ended up like, but practice makes perfect, right? And then I have enough leftovers to make matching shoes, and I'm planning on, I'm planning on making something similar to this. I don't want to put that flower on it, but see how it's got like that lace trim up the front, and then like there's a bow behind the flower. So I'll probably do like the lace trim and the bow. But yeah, matching shoes. I'm like, man, I should have bought more fabric so I could have made a matching hat. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm thinking she might need a bonnet. Depends on what the weather's going to be like, because really, who knows? We've had warm weather, and then now it's like rainy. I mean, it's spring, so that's all my works in progress, and holy cow, that was a lot, right? Harvey, get off the bench picker. Luckily, there's all these spikes on there, but the top can sit over the top, like the top's got spikes coming up from underneath it, from the bottom, and then the bottom has spikes going up to the top, and the top piece moves, so I put them over top of each other so there's no spikes hanging out. But if he were to, because he weighs a lot, move that top piece, there might be spikes. So I'm going to check on him real quick. Okay, he's still messing with it, but I think he's okay. Moving on to finished objects. So I did finish the Princess of Hearts cardigan by Deborah Newton, and I sent it out to the baby shower, which the mom loved it, so I will just enter a picture here. I really should have recorded ahead of time, but I didn't think about it, so I'll just insert a picture. I also finished my Hidden Gussets by, oh, I can't pronounce her name, so I'll just put it at the bottom. This was a free pattern on Knitty, and I knit on US size zeros. This is out of Penguin Soup Royal MCN in the Oogie Boogie colorway. It was part of the Nightmare Before Christmas Club. It was the final yarn, and I love them. I love them so much. You can see the twisted rib that travels across to the thumb, stockinette, and there's some twisted rib at the top. So I really like the way the twisted rib looks, so I went with the fingerless mitts option instead of the finger option, because the finger option didn't have this twisted rib design in it, and that's what really drew me to the aesthetics of this glove. So that's what I went for, and I absolutely love them. This yarn is so soft, and I have a bunch left over, so I'm thinking about making a matching cowl. I don't know if I want to hold it double and do something lacy that will squish on top of itself, or if I want to just do it single and then have it be like a thinner cowl. I'm leaning more towards holding it double and trying to do something bulkier and squishier. But this electric green, I love it with these pops of purple, and there's some flecks of blue as well. I love them. And then I also was super enabled by Instagram. Like, let's just be honest here, Instagram is the worst enabler of all time. I mean, really, but in a good way. I had to knit myself a bonbon. And actually, I didn't knit it for myself, I knit it for Emily. This will be showing up sometime around Easter for her. Obviously, not for her to play with, but more shake it at her. I wouldn't want her to have this on her own because she's starting to put things in her mouth. Not that she really has control to put it in her mouth. Sometimes she'll grab something and then her hand will happen to make its way up to her mouth, and then she'll be like, wow, 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 wow. She doesn't quite yet have the coordination to grab something and then put it to her mouth, but she can grab random things around her, and eventually they might end up by her mouth, and then of course she will nom on them. So I don't want her nomming on the bunny just because it's got little pieces. And, they're not sewn, so in case you didn't know, this is Bon Bon by Susan Claudino, knit out of my Sally yarn from O Loops. It was a sport weight superwash, and I think I've knit it on US 1.5s or 2, and this pattern is all one piece. So you knit the attachments separate, but you leave their stitches live on like a spare needle or some waste yarn, and then when you go to knit the body, she tells you where specifically to join those live stitches, so there's no guesswork and there's no sewing besides weaving in the ends. But there's no guesswork on placement, and there's no, even for the eyes, she has you purl where the eyes go so that when it's time to close it up, you just put the eyes right where the pearls are. And she even has a nice little explanation on how to make the super cute nose. So because I knit mine at a DK weight or sport weight, my eyes look huge on my bunny, but the original pattern is knit out of worsted weight. So I have large-eyed bunny, but that's okay, it's still super cute. And then, oh, and I don't know if I said this is a paid for pattern. And then the other finished object I have is this super cute hat. Oh, this is so cute, right? This is the garter ear flap hat by Pearlby, and I knitted it. That's all, folks. Sorry, we've been watching some Looney Tunes with Emily, so I knit this out of my hand spun from Fantasy Fibers that was gifted to me by Kat, and so I made this hat for her daughter Lucy, which I know Kat's down here in the south with us, so it's starting to warm up and be too hot for hats. So I decided to knit it in the toddler size so she can wear it next winter, or maybe even the next winter. But, so yeah, Fantasy Fiber Studios, like these little bat strips, I spun them, and that was kind of an art yarn, so it's got like almost Tweety bumps in it. I spun that, chain plied it, and then this is some hand spun I had in stash that I had spun earlier. It was from Winterwood Farm. It was a bat that came with my wheel, so I thought that the stripe went in pretty nicely. The ear flaps are done by Short Rose, which was a lot of fun, and then it's got a little tassel at the top. So I finished this and I was like, man, this is super cute. Maybe I want to keep this. No, I can't. But the little bat strips that are from Fantasy Fiber, they have glitter in them. I don't know if you can see it. Oh, you can't really see it. But it is a super, super cute hat. So I'm going to be sending that to her with some other goodies as a belated Christmas and birthday gift. So moving on to Check It Out. So for Check It Out this week, I wanted to talk to you guys about something that is very near and dear to my heart. Cannot stress that enough. So I don't know if you guys have heard yet, but Brittany from the Moonbeam Makes podcast has started a Kickstarter for her new company, Spun Fiber Company. And I know there are a lot of people who go to Kickstarter to get funds to start up companies. Sorry if you can hear Emily, she's with Josh right now. But there are a lot of people that go to Kickstarter to fund new indie dyeing companies, but this isn't your normal indie dyer Kickstarter startup. This is specifically for the wool source. So a lot of, as many people may know, a lot of the wool that is available in wholesale comes from the same places, and it can be frustrating with the lack of variety. So Brittany is actually going to local farms in her area and sourcing her wool from them, so you get breed specific fiber from a known source, so you know how the sheep were treated, you know that they were loved and cared for, and it's just amazing that, like, she's bringing it back to the local farmers and then bringing it out to the community. So the wool is all going to be made, processed, dyed, sold here in the US, and it's going to be, I don't know, I'm just super excited for it, and I really, really hope that this works out. Small farmers, it's hard for them to especially get up off the ground, because to take your fleeces in to get processed by a mill can be really pricey, and then you have to turn around and try to sell that fiber too, and it's really hard to kind of run a business that way. And it's a lot easier for a farmer to be able to sell their fleece to someone else who collects all the small local farmers' fleeces, takes them to the mill, gets them processed, and then they sell them. It's a much better distribution method and all, and really the small farmers are going to profit from that greatly. They can focus their efforts on maintaining and taking care of the sheep and their fleeces versus trying to run a giant operation. And those profits can go back to their farm and their flock can grow. So, yeah. So if you can't tell, I feel really passionate about this business. And so, of course, I went ahead and made a donation, and I'm asking that you guys go check it out, because this is a really great idea for a business. I've never seen anything like it, and it's great to be able to bring it back to the small guys. And the cool thing is that she's going to be offering breed-specific yarns and as well as American wool, because it's not available, because the bigger companies, they really focus on what the majority of the people want, which when you look at knitters as a mass, most knitters want the softest wool they can get. So a lot of those larger companies, they focus on only the highest quality of merino, baby alpaca, etc. You know, you think of those luxury line of yarns, and that's what it's really focused on. But these other breeds that are still great for knitting and still great for yarn, they kind of get left behind. So it's great to see someone going out there to scoop that up and get it out, because I would love to have some Jacob yarn. I have a Jacob fleece, which is amazing, and it's only available to people who spin. People who spin can go out and get Jacob fleeces, process, and then spin them themselves. But if you were a knitter who wanted some Jacob yarn, it's a lot harder to get. So that's my spiel on her Kickstarter. Go check her out. I think it's only been up for about a week now, and she's already got about 40% of her funding. So there's a really good chance that this is going to go through, and she has amazing rewards available. There are rewards as low as $5 up to $1,000 if you want, and the rewards are great. There's a mitt kit. There's a name your own skein, where you get a skein of yarn that you get to name the colorway. There are tote bags. There are tote bags with yarn. There's a Kickstarter exclusive yarn club. And there's even a sheep to sweater option. So go check it out. See if that's something you guys are interested in funding. She has a great video that describes everything. And yeah, so that's my check it out this week. Moving on to current events. So I am hosting a double dip cow, where you can enter any of your objects that have been entered into other cows into the double dip cow. Really, it's just prizes for participating in cows. And so far there has been great participation, and there are some lovely finished objects. And some of you got this double dipping thing like under control. I mean, I've seen projects that have been entered in more than 5 knit-alongs. That is amazing that you were able to pull them all into one. That is awesome. So, so far I have 2 skeins of yarn up for that. I really need to put pictures in the Ravelry group of that. I have the little photos soon, but soon is no longer applicable to when I posted that. I really need to get those up, and I'm thinking about adding a project bag to that, depending on the level of participation. I think so far we have like 30 entries. We'll see how it goes, since this cow will run until May 31st, so that gives me some time. Yeah, so let's move on to Let's Chat. So, I've been doing pretty good these last 2 weeks. Emily will be 3 months old soon. So she has really been becoming more and more alert. I don't think she's a normal baby. She does not sleep very often. I mean, she'll sleep at night, wake up 2-3 times to eat, but during the day, sometimes we cannot get her down, and she will only take like a 15-minute nap here or there, and she's just up. And the poor thing fights sleep. Like, when she's up, you can see her eyes are red, and she's like groggy, she's overexhausted, and we try rocking her and singing to her and taking all of the stuff that will keep her focused, trying to take that all away and trying to get her to relax, and she just doesn't want to do it. It's like she's afraid she's gonna miss something. So we've been taking her out, and it's almost like the opposite effect, that overstimulation makes her tired. So the days that we take her out, we'll go to the mall or we'll go to a store or something, she tends to sleep better. So really the challenge has been keeping her entertained. She's still too short for this activity bouncer we got her, but she holds her head up really well. So I've been putting her in it with a pillow under her, and she just stares at this sun. There's like a toy sun on it, and it's bright yellow, and every time I put her in it, she immediately just lights up, and she's just like, ah. But yeah, so she's doing really well. Work has been easier with her now because it's fun to come home, and I'm like, where's my baby? And she just instantly smiles at the sound of my voice, and that's been really nice. And it's great because when I get home, I miss her so much that Josh gets a break from watching her, and it can just be mom and baby time. Speaking of Josh, so I told you guys I was doing the Couch to 5K program, and I got about halfway through it, and I've stopped it. Not because I quit, but because I started a different program. So Josh has wanted to lose some weight also, and a couple years ago he bought the Insanity workout DVDs from Beachbody. Oh my goodness. He didn't make it through. I think he made it through 4 or 5 weeks. It's a 9-week program, and then he quit. So this time around, he pulled it out to start it, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to start it with you, because I need to be physically in shape, not just with running, but with strength as well, because it's part of my fitness test for work. So we started that on Monday, and this workout is seriously named appropriately. Like, it is insane. I've never worked out like this before in my entire life, and I'm in the military. Like, this is ridiculous. So we have been keeping each other motivated. We've got the calendar on the fridge where we can cross off our days, and it's 6 days a week. You only get 1 rest day, but one of the days that you work out is a cardio recovery, so it's kind of like a yoga with strength training, and so it's not so bad. That was yesterday for us, so today I'm not sore. So one day this week, and then probably my rest day, I won't be sore, but it's totally worth it. I already feel like I'm getting results, even though we've only been doing it for 4 days. And I can't wait to see how much healthier I am when I finish this workout. And a side note with health and exercising, I've seriously noticed when I work out regularly, I don't crave the bad food. You know what I mean? I don't crave soda. I don't crave desserts. I can't eat fast food. I can't, like, the thought of eating fast food or greasy food makes my stomach sick. And I think it's my body's way of telling me, like, hey, you're working out hard. Don't put that in me. So, yeah. That, and we got some puzzles to keep us entertained, and we'll prop Emily up next to us, and we bought a 4-pack of Disney puzzles. They're 500 piece, so we figured when we put them all together, we can glue them and hang them up in her room. So yeah, see, I think I'm doing better about, I took some notes so I wouldn't forget what to tell you guys, because honestly, especially if you're a podcaster, you know, sometimes you get in front of the camera and you just start talking and you forget about all the things you wanted to say. So it's nice to have it written down so that I remember. Like I have, my paper says rigor mortis, and that's because, I was going to tell you guys, sometimes when Emily does sleep, she will be so stiff, like she'll be sleeping and her arms are like straight out, and sometimes they'll be like being a fist straight out, and it's so funny because I've never seen babies or anyone really sleep like that, and so we've been calling it rigorous mortis because that's what it's like. She's just like, and you can't call it rigor mortis because that would make it too real, so making it like up a fake name for it makes it easier to deal with. But yeah, rigorous mortis. But yeah, she's so tired that she sleeps like that. It's ridiculous. So for the questions part of the Let's Chat, let's talk about Stephen East, right? Have you guys seen Stephen West's videos on his YouTube channel? I know it's all that anyone can talk about because it's that entertaining. If you guys have not seen those videos, you really need to go check them out because they're hilarious. There are like 2 or 3 short little episodes where he talks about what he's knitting on and some of his favorite yarns, and then there's a how to wear your shawls one, which is great. So if you guys haven't checked that out, go check it out, and then let me know what you guys think. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Honestly, when I watched the how to wear your shawls thread or video, I was like, I need to cast on some of his shawls. I normally see the main picture of his patterns and then I'm like, what the heck is that? Because his pictures are very like artistic, and sometimes the shawl gets lost in the art of the picture, in my opinion. So, and I'm like, I would never wear that. That's too like high fashion for me. Like, yeah, I guess that's a better way to describe it, is like high fashion. And I'm like, that's too high fashion for me. But then seeing his shawls in his video, I was like, oh my god, if I just change the colors of that a little bit, I would love to have that. So you will probably be seeing me knit some Stephen West shawls in the future. I have at least 2 that I plan to knit. I want to knit the Color Craving and the Exploration Station. So gotta try that brioche, right? But yeah, that's all I have for you guys. So I hope you guys had a good 2 weeks and have a good next 2 weeks, and I will see you then. Bye!